evening is Salini Teri Apodaca. She's been on the show before. She has a great deal of wisdom. I'm going to get you her bio here. Salini Teri Apodaca was raised in California, where she was trained and initiated by several master spiritual teachers, including Reiki Grandmaster Hawayo Takata, Holy Mother Ammachi, Yogi Haeckel, and her mother Eu-lalia Mae. I hope I got that one right this time. She's also a holistic practitioner and addictions counselor, a bodyworker of multiple modalities, an alchemist, and a shaman. She trains and initiates students in Reiki, shamanism, and soul transformation. Her work includes chronic illness, trauma recovery, sexual abuse recovery, mental and emotional illness, addiction recovery, chronic pain, shamanic healing, spiritual awakening, and any other conditions brought to her. Salini works at the level of the soul issues and addresses all aspects of body, mind, and spirit when working with clients. Salini also trains people in the healing of the split duality within the human mind to bring individuals, collectives, and cultures to wholeness. In addition, Salini is a survivor of the MK Ultra trauma-based mind control sex slavery program. She deprogrammed herself and recreated a program for healing trauma, mind control, and addictions, and restored the fractured spirit of humanity. Her dual initiation into light and dark served as the basis for the Salini's understanding of how to heal the matrix of duality in human consciousness. She outlines her healing program in her groundbreaking book, Emerging from the Matrix, which is Healing Human Trauma and Ending Global Enslavement. This is available on Amazon.com. It's an awesome book, y'all. I encourage you to purchase this book. It's fabulous. And Salini is available to teach, heal, awaken anyone interested in the path of spiritual awakening through energy work, soul alchemy, deep personal healing, and divine mother love globally. She is the divine body electrician and can rewire and restore your body's energy grid in preparation for ascension. She's also available for individual sessions in the USA or Skype and can work on people long distance globally. Salini is the host of the new TV show Beyond the Matrix with Salini and co-host of the Heal Yourself Now, and you can access this at www.naturallybetter.tv. She's a published author, columnist, and screenwriter, teacher, spiritual retreat leader, motivational speaker, and spiritual visionary. Salini also has a radio show on intentionradio.com, also called Emerging from the Matrix, where she speaks truth to the awakening masses and teaches people to self-heal. Her website is www.emergingfromthematrix.com. And please welcome Salini to the show this evening. Good evening, Salini.
Hi, Solaris. How's my girl tonight?
Oh, just lovely. How are you doing this evening? Busy, I know.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Great.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Sorry if I had my mic on. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I heard you rattling around back there. You know what? That's fine. It's just like you're in the kitchen and I'm in the other room. That's great. But it's wonderful to have you on board. And I just want to thank you for joining us. You know, I want to tune people into what you're capable of doing because for myself, I kind of mentioned this to you, but you did a beautiful, I don't know what you would call it, a sit with you on the Facebook. And it was just so beautiful and so loving.
Oh,
and there was so much energy generating that literally is very moving. And I want people to get a glimpse of that. If you want to share, we can go in that direction, then we can just go wherever you want to go.
Okay, well, I can talk about that night and what I'm doing with that. That's called a satsang. And, you know, in the Hindu tradition, a satsang, that's the language, the word is a truth dialogue, a sacred dialogue of truth and healing. And so I've decided to start regular satsangs for people as a pathway to their healing, where I give a little talk. We do a meditation, I give a little talk, and then we do healings, group healings afterwards. And oh my God, it really came through, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. So it was powerful. Absolutely. I was going to say, you know, so many people get moved by your work. And the one thing I want to point out is that people are suffering on all different levels. I mean, you obviously saw that the other night. And it's really nice that they have a place to go and have this kind of energetic support. I just want to applaud you for what you're doing, and I hope more people tune into that because it's very, very powerful and very pure.
Well, you told me it was helpful for you.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't get very emotional, but I could really feel the energy to the point where I actually really needed to release some things that were held up in my energy field, and that was allowing me to do so. So that's really rare for me. And that's why I wanted people to be tuned into what you're up to, because it's fabulous work that you're doing. And I think it's very effective, especially for people who've been through any kind of trauma or any kind of a program. It's really, really powerful work.
Well, what most people don't understand is that it's love that heals. Mm-hmm. And I've been hollowed out by my own journey. You know, I had a lot of suffering in this lifetime. And when you have a lot of suffering, it's sacred alchemy. And what happens is your internal soul, I mean, you either do the healing work or you're going to pass away, you know. And for me, it was heal or die. I had such a severe journey. And so I undertook that journey of sacred alchemy, which is turning the pain into light and turning it into love and turning it into divine energy. And over the course of that time, I hollowed out all I'm empty of the dark energy and of the pain, you know? Mm-hmm. So now I'm like a pure vessel. And what comes through me is God's divine love. And however you conceive of God, you know, everybody's faith is supported in my world. You know, my religion is love.
Mm-hmm. Universal,
so,
right?
Yeah. And so when I'm doing that, all I'm doing is channeling the love of the Creator through. And it's very powerful. It's very high. And when I was healing myself years ago, I was able to access that energy. And you all have that power to call down the healing for yourselves. And so over the many years of me healing myself, I've mastered that technique of drawing the divine energy into myself. And then now I'm able to pass it to, that's the first time the last 2 satsangs was the first time I'd ever tried to heal people through a Facebook satsang. And so I didn't know if it was going to work, Solaris, but you told me it did work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, the energy was very, very powerful, and I could tell just because it was helping me. So, and I believe in, it's, there's a saying, it's the power of 3, but there's more than the power of 3. But it's your pure intent, your energy being the conduit and facilitator, and then everybody's pure intent of wanting something to be resolved, whether it's a healing or support or whatever it is. And it does work. I'm a firm believer in that. And it is interesting. So I would encourage everybody who's listening to tune into your gatherings, because they're powerful and they're very effective. And also read your book. It's a fabulous book.
Well, thank you. And what you just said is really the truth, is that it's the intent, and it's that we gathered together on that page that night. And that even though we were not together physically, we were together, we were connected in spirit. Mm-hmm. And when those people that came were sincerely asking for help, God heard your prayer, and God worked through me. And I'm just God's servant and doing what the gift that I was given, which is the ability to heal. So I give all credit to our Creator for this. But it's available to everyone. It doesn't matter how serious your condition is. Anybody can heal. And, I'm not suggesting people don't ever go to the doctor or anything. I'm just saying that even with something like this, you can heal. Mm-hmm. Because I healed myself this way, by calling down the divine energy into my body. And I had cancer, I had all kinds of different things, and viral meningitis, everything. I've been through so many near-death experiences, you can't believe it. Mm-hmm. So this is my offering to the world. A satsang with Salini on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm on the West Coast. And I go for about an hour and a half, and then the last part we do some healings. So please join me at Facebook Live at Salini Teri Apodaca, and I'll be happy to do what I can for you.
Beautiful. Yeah, I encourage everybody to do that. I'll be tuned in again if you don't mind. I love it. That's actually, I feel a strong resonance with it. It's probably the Reiki stuff too. And I had a question, I don't know if it's a question in chat, but they were asking about your name is very old, the Apodaca. And is that your lineage name, or is that a name that's connected to a spirit name?
Apodaca was my married name.
Okay.
And I kept it because that to me is my real family, and my children have that name. Salini was given to me by the Holy Mother Ammachi, and that's the name of a divine mother in India. She's in the Vedas, and she was a powerful goddess and leader in India many centuries ago. Mm. And then Teri was my given name as a birth name from my family.
That's beautiful. I love that.
So I kept all of them because, each one has a segment of my life history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love Ammachi too. That's really nice. And the Salini is a beautiful name. Very, very pretty.
Well, no Apodaca is a Basque name, by the way. My original, my ex-husband, they are Hispanic and Native American. And I love them very much, and I love the name very much, so I kept it. Mm-hmm. Salini means divine mother. Well, it's part of the meaning is divine mother.
Very pretty. Yeah, certainly suits you. The goddess of compassion you wear very well. There's no doubt about that. You have a lot of compassion and love in your heart, and I applaud you for that. We've talked about this before, but I have a more warrior spirit kind of It's just more intense fierceness. But you have that beautiful, loving energy, and I think that that's really needed right now. So I'm glad you're holding the space for people to heal and utilizing that energy. Really am.
Well, there were times when I was a pretty angry warrior. I mean, I can't hold it all the time because I have so much love in my heart for
Yeah,
people.
you can tell. You can tell. It's genuine. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. But I also had to be a warrior, my story. So in order to survive, I had to fight to survive what I went through. And I had to resist and fight the males and the others that traumatized me. But in the end, I forgive them. And in the end, my heart is open. And that's what makes my ability to heal so powerful. Because even the darkest of the dark are welcome in my door for healing if they're really sincere.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, if they're really sincere. So if they're really coming and wanting to let go and shed their skin and rebirth, get a rebirth to some level of alchemy, that happens. But what about the ones who really don't want the change? Obviously, can they be helped at all in any form or what?
Well, the time has come and gone where you can continue on a dark path and get away with it. Mm-hmm. We're arriving at the moment in global history. That's why I'm here on the planet, and that's why other people like me are here on the planet, and people like Solaris are opening the door to truth, is that we are here to effect the global transformation of spiritual awakening. We are walking into the paradigm of the Divine Mother. We are entering the age of Aquarius, and there's no turning back. And so the bad guys that are here right now, they think they have an open reign of terror for all of eternity. I'm here to tell you your days are numbered, and you can remain in the dark and you will perish in the dark, or you can step into the light and awaken and heal and experience unconditional love. It's your choice.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
And
there's two roads.
They can all come. They're welcome to come, but they're going to have to be accountable.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Totally. It seems like we're going through the void. Now, what's your perception of the void? Do you believe that we are actually traveling through what we call like maybe a Kali Yuga or the void itself?
Are you saying void?
Yeah, like we're traveling through the void insofar as going through the dark tides.
Yeah, we're actually passing through a part of the universe, or we just finished passing through a part of the universe that was sort of dead space, where there was a lot of really negative energy left over there. And so that got absorbed into our galaxy. And so that affected us negatively. That's part of the problem. There's also the Kali Yuga in the Vedic tradition. You pass through various yugas, which are many thousands of years long. And the Kali Yuga is the darkest of the dark. And we're at the end of a very dark Kali Yuga, Kali being the female goddess of both destruction and unconditional love, both together.
Right.
It's like she's the tough love goddess. It's like,
that's for me.
If you don't get your SHIT together, man, it's Kali time. Boom, we're going to cut your head off. And I'm not quite as harsh as Kali, but that's the time we're passing through. Mm-hmm. And so some of us came here. There are some of us divine mothers that arrived on the planet at this time to anchor the light, so that this planet will not explode into darkness, Solaris.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We're very close to completely destroying the Earth and this galaxy. And that may sound like a outlandish statement, but frankly, it isn't. I mean, we went through something like this with Atlantis. Or here we are with all these massive weapons and various forms of, the large Hadron Collider.
Hadron Collider.
They have over there, and then we've got various other weapons that we don't even know about that we received through alien technology, through agreements that people have made throughout history with the aliens, and they're experimenting with time warps and collapsing of the universe and all that kind of stuff. So at any moment, they could just destroy our galaxy as they build up this energy. There has to be a balancing energy, to that destructive energy, because that's the energy of conquering. It's the energy of whatever you want to call it, demonic or alien. You can call it reptilian. I don't know what name you want to put on it, if it really matters. But this is the energy of darkness that's devoid of love, and it's devoid of consciousness. It's devoid of morality. And it's devoid of integrity. It's all about power and control. And so, there's never enough. It's a black hole because they never have enough power and control. So you have to balance it with an equal amount of light. And that's who I am. And there's a bunch of us here.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Right.
call me, a little speck of light from God. I mean, all of us are a little speck of light from God, but some of us have a very specific mission to bring down and anchor enough light to keep this universe from exploding, literally. And my job as a divine mother is to pour down the light and the love as much as possible. So I've been hollowed out. I'm just like an empty tube, and I'm just pouring down the love through that heart of mine, which has always been there.
It certainly is. Yeah, it's definitely transmutational. There's no doubt about it. That's the effect that love is, I suppose, And what's interesting is when you mentioned the Kali Yuga, and I'm a firm believer that we are traveling through this void, and void, it's empty. It's empty of love. It's empty of spirit. It's empty of, divinity, which explains a lot of the erratic behavior here on this world and the illusion of, I would say, just from some of the people. They're almost like they're empty. They're void of spirit. They're void of that love. So it's very interesting how they got hollowed out, but differently. And it's interesting how you went through these projects, and I understand where that comes from because that which does not destroy us makes us extremely powerful. There's no doubt about it. So somewhere along the way, your divinity just kept you safe and kept you protected, even though you were going through all sorts of horrific events.
And yeah, it's exactly it. I'm really glad you stated it that way, because even as a child, I chose God. You have to choose the light. You have to choose God. You can't just blatantly go along and say everything's going to be okay, because we're in a matrix. We're in a mind control matrix here, and they're going to take your soul. They're going to take your mind, they're going to take your divine energy, and they're going to take your soul. And believe me, I lived through it, so I'm here to tell you it's real. And you may not all have to go through what I went through, but if you're sitting there watching TV and eating GMOs and getting vaccinated and experiencing chemtrails and allowing the government to rule your life, then your mind and your spirit is being stolen. And so you have to make a decision. And I'm not talking about any particular religion. I'm talking about you have to choose to connect with the divine. And you have to realize that you are never separated from the divine, and that you are connected with your silver cord, and that you are a chunk of divinity here on earth experiencing an awakening, and that your shadow self is being healed, and that you are reclaiming the broken fragments of your soul, and that you came here to do that and that alone. You didn't come here to get rich and famous. You didn't come here to build an empire. You didn't come here to climb Mount Everest. I mean, maybe you're going to do it, but that isn't really what we're here to do. We're here to remember who we are, that we are divine beings on a mission to restore this planet to wholeness and to awaken as a whole collective humanity. And so my job, Solaris, is to help people get there.
And you're doing a fabulous job. I will say you're an excellent role model. And also because you have the experience in these dark areas as well, which makes you, it just gives you that level of skill. And nowadays, you're right. So many people, I think they're unaware that they're being manipulated. I really do. I think that they just, they get integrated in with television and all sorts of media, but they're not really understanding how that subliminal transmission is really affecting them, and especially right down to the cell phones and everything else. And we've talked about it before, but this is a big deal. And I really think that the work you're doing and many of us here who are running the light on this world are really here for various reasons. But that's the one thing you're really spot on about is our divinity, is reclaiming that and reminding us of our divinity along the way. So very, very interesting. There's no doubt. And where did you want to go tonight? I know I have a lot of different questions, but where would you like to start insofar as anything you want to touch on that's running in that you'd like to communicate?
Yeah, well, I would like, you can feel free to ask me questions, but the couple things I would like to say, and one of them is that what we're experiencing right now is the reawakening of the sacred feminine and the emergence of the power of the sacred feminine and the descent of the divine mother to earth. Those are like coalescing forces and experiences that are happening right now. And what I mean by that is, and scientists love to poo-poo those of us who are mystics. I was born with the ability to see into the cosmos, and I know that I am part of the universe as a whole. And so once I went through this program and I was exiled from this matrix, I was privy to the truth of the outer matrix, the other worlds. And what I saw in the cosmos is that 85% of the universe is made up of dark matter. And the scientists, that's all they know is what to call it. They don't know what it is, you know. It's just
Mhm.
like when doctors were discovering the body parts, they didn't know what to call them, and they don't really have names for them. But the dark matter, I can tell you right now, it's where all of us females are exiled. It's where the divine feminine resides, is in the dark matter of the universe. It's made up of 85% yin energy, and it is right now descending to Earth. And we're going to experience a reunification of this planet with the yin energy. And when that happens, and it is happening slowly, but it's happening, there's going to be a massive wave of healing. It's going to be shocking and maybe traumatic because people will have to relinquish their illusions and their attachments and their desires and their darkness. And you're going to be flushed full of love and light that comes from the Divine Mother. And then you will have the choice to heal. You can return to the dark, or you can come into the light and join the collective consciousness of the universe. It's your choice. If you choose not to, well, I don't know what God's going to do about that. Maybe dissolve that energy. If you want to stay in the dark, stay in the dark. Maybe there's another universe for you somewhere. But this one's going to be light. This
Mhm.
one's going to be love. This one's going to be awakened. Maybe even within our lifetime, Solaris, we're going to see sometime in the next 100 years, and I think it's probably going to be in the next 10 or 20 years, everybody is going to awaken. And you're going to see that the focus on awakening is going to be more important than any other activity on earth. The people won't be thinking about money and property and wars and sex and food. They're going to be thinking about awakening. And they're
Mhm.
going to be working on awakening. And it's already begun. If you look at the younger people, it's already begun. And
Mhm.
so some of us have been planted here for that reason. So I guess I had to get to be older to be that particular person that I am, and be that position to be the elder divine mother, so that I can help guide people there. But this divine mother energy is coming. You can't avoid it. Receive her, because she's just going to love you. That's all it is. It's scary to people, but they don't need to be afraid. They
Mhm.
really don't.
I think it's part of the deprogramming aspect. Some people are comfortable in a skin that really doesn't fit them, yet they haven't been calibrated to higher levels of spirituality or consciousness to a point where they probably don't understand what a new vibration would feel like, or maybe it doesn't resonate. But usually when they shed their skins, they feel much better once they receive, their divinity or an exchange of some kind. In my opinion, anyway, from my work, I've noticed that over the years. But I think a lot of people are just comfortable in that lulled area, but they're being moved, they're being shifted, whether they like it or not. So I guess that's a decision they're going to have to make.
Yeah, well, everything is a free will choice. We're not forced to do anything here, but there are consequences. If you're disobedient to the divine, there are divine laws in the universe,
Hmm.
and people in each religion has their list of laws, the Ten Commandments, or the golden rule. The golden rule exists in every religion, that do unto others as you would have them do unto you. These are basically divine laws, and they are immutable laws. They don't change. And anybody who's really spiritual knows that whatever energy you put out into the universe will eventually come back to you. It may not happen immediately, but it will come back to you.
Hmm.
So, you can make a choice to be as mean and nasty as you want to be, but just be prepared for the next 300 lifetimes to be really miserable.
Yeah, there's
So,
accountability. There's no doubt. It's an energetic thing. It's almost like a boomerang effect.
exactly
There's
what it is.
hmm
Exactly what it
yeah.
is. And so, who am I to say that I didn't deserve what I got in this lifetime? Because not only did I choose this path, but I chose to complete my karma. So I don't know what I did in any other lifetimes. And I don't know exactly what the decision I made when I was in disincarnate form to come down, other than that I came here to complete a mission that God assigned me to do, which is to awaken humanity. So it wouldn't be right for me to judge or be angry anymore. Once I got past that, it seems clear to me. The
hmm
duality exists in the fact that we're going to be angry at the other side, whatever it is. And that's one of the things I want to address right now is there's too much separation and too much division.
Mm-hmm.
People are separated around politics. They're separated around race. They're separated around sex and gender. They're separated around class lines, who's got more money and who doesn't. And I don't want to buy into any more separation. And so I have slowly been relinquishing all these conversations with people who want to argue about all these different things, because I was trying to enlighten people, but then they see me as being on the other side. And there is no separation. We're not separated even from the violent ones. They are simply outside of their own divinity. They've forgotten who they are, and they've chosen to be dark. And so we have to continue to embody love and non-judgmental, unconditional love and forgiveness until they're ready to step in there, into the light and into the circle with us. The circle has to remain open for them to enter. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. It really does. And I think the right people will be switched on and be ready for a transmutational process at some point. But for those who don't want to go in that corridor, I guess they're just not ready. But I think we're running out of time in the illusion of, and that's the thing. I've noticed that everything is becoming rifted and distorted because it's breaking down. The false matrix is breaking down to be rebuilt on a higher level of what we call divinity. That's my take too. So
You're
I would say,
absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way to me. So, yeah, it's fabulous work. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, for those of you, that's why I named my book Emerging from the Matrix. Did everybody listening tonight see the movie The Matrix? Oh my God, I love The Matrix. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
The first one was spot on. Yep.
Well, remember when they take Neo down into the Matrix for the first time, and he looks down the stairs and he sees a cat go by, and then he sees a cat go by again, the same cat go by again. And he says, wait a minute, something's weird. And he tells Morpheus, and Morpheus says, what happened? And he said, well, I saw this cat go by twice. And then they all freaked. And they said, it's a glitch in the Matrix. And what that meant is that they were getting ready to be double-crossed and they were going to be attacked. So what I'm saying is that there are all these layers of falseness that they lay down over us to trap us and to trick us and to get us tricked into going in certain directions that will eventually cause us to lose our soul. And so even in that movie, they're telling you that in so many different ways that if you don't watch where you're going, it's a very seductive matrix. There's food, delicious foods, there's beautiful women, there's alcohol, there's glorious jobs and exciting experiences. But those are all tricks of the matrix. It's really important to look beyond that, like he did in the movie, and realize that remember how they scorched the sky? That's what we're doing right now. We're scorching the planet. Right. It looks real good to us when we're sitting somewhere on the beach and we're having a margarita or whatever, but in reality, we're scorching the planet. And so it's really important for us to step out of that lull of illusion and begin to do our divine work, whatever it is. What is your mission? What is your divine blueprint? What did you come here to do? We need you, because each of you carries a piece of the puzzle to make this place whole again, or you wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? So, Loris?
Wow.
Ma'am? Did you hear me?
You hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, yeah, something was going on. Yep, there goes my Skype. Yeah, my Skype's getting hit. I don't know what's going on.
Well, did you hear me?
Well, I did hear you for a little bit there, and I'm sure the listeners did. It was me that was losing the Skype. So let me check. It's going in loops right now. My Skype is flipping out. So keep going. I think we're still live. Let me double check in the chat room. I think we're okay. So just go ahead and keep talking. We're still live as far as I can tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so
you were talking about the Matrix, and I got that.
Yeah, The Matrix, the movie is really an amazing movie. I mean, it explains a lot of what's really happening here, and that as Morpheus said to Neo, we try not to force a mind to awaken, but sometimes we have to do it. And that's exactly what, none of us can force another person to awaken. but people come to me and ask to be awakened, and I do what I can do, but they have to do their own personal work. You have to do your own personal journey, your own personal healing in awakening. And you're not going to be allowed to ignore it in this lifetime. This is the lifetime you came to do it. So those people that are cruising along with lots of money and whatever they're doing are going to have a very rude awakening, Solaris. There's going to be an event, a very dramatic, purifying event it's going to happen where people will have to awaken. And we're moving closer and closer to that event.
I agree. Well, it's no fun living in a lie. And that's the thing, it's not just about being a false matrix. It's about the lies and deception associated with the web and the fabric. The fabric is not in alignment with our multidimensional design. And that people don't realize that. And that's not like we're pushing spirituality or pushing, but the bottom line is you've got to understand that you would have such a better life if people would break out of that arena, because that arena is not supposed to be here. Technically speaking, we're not supposed to be living like this, enslaved into that level. And when you mention the matrix, it's really interesting. Coming from my experience with artificial intelligence, it's a digitization of a person. It's like they digitize you and then create this fabric around it in this matrix, this false hologram where people can interact. I mean, that's literally what I saw when I saw the Matrix. It was that same concept of pulling people into that digitized world, but yet we see the glitches in the digitizing, like the looping programs, that people are going through the same cycles of progression. They're not snapping out of it. They're repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And that's history, too. That's the history.
No, you're absolutely right.
It's really wild.
Yeah, it is. And I had an amazing conversation with somebody this week, and he's going to be on my show Beyond the Matrix here pretty soon.
Great.
And he was the only person I've ever met who went to the Mars and the Mars Project. So you're familiar with the Mars Project, aren't you, Solaris?
I've heard of it, yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, he claims that he was taken to the Mars Project to be trained to be a super soldier. And he said that they tried to make him a transhumanistic robot, cyborg, by putting layers of, I don't know what you would call it, but just robotic equipment. And he said they experimented with his body to combine robotic equipment with human flesh, like in the Terminator, the movie The Terminator. And so he went through that experience, and then he failed. They tried to turn him dark, and they failed. So he was returned to Earth and regressed back to the way he was. It was a fascinating conversation, and it's in alignment with conversations I've had with several other whistleblowers talking about the super soldier program.
Well, yeah, but you have to be careful with that. Only because I know what they do in those labs, and I know what they do in the underground. And I'm not saying he didn't go where he did, but I will tell you from my own experience with the technology, and I know it from A to Z, is that when you get interconnected with the technology itself, first of all, there's a program that runs that literally creates a delusion so that you think you're going certain places and you're not. So that's part of the brainwashing entrainment program, where they create screen memories and basically create the memory to be programmed into the target or the host. I didn't say he didn't go or didn't, but I will say there should be some things in there, like he should have a lot of implants. He should be able to be scanned, and you can be able to see this stuff. I'm not sure which guy this is, and if it's the one I'm thinking about, then I'm not going to subscribe to his information. But I will tell you one thing. There's a lot of people claiming to be through this and that, and it was a big hot topic because it was a moneymaker. And I'm just telling you point blank honestly. But I will tell you from my experience with this technology, it is cyber. And it is not about being a cyborg per se, but it is about being upgraded into artificial intelligence interface and being part of the transhumanism test program, if you ask me, because initially when I was pulled in 2004, the technology was not really being mentioned a whole lot. And I don't think they were working with it a lot. I didn't go to Mars. I didn't go to the moon. I was here as a sci-spy, and I got plugged into technology that ran me through a lot of programs, and I remember every one of them. So that's where I come from.
Well, you know a lot more about this one than I do.
Yeah, I do. And that's why when people start talking about it, I'm like, I can troubleshoot people big time, but that's your call. But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, he's never told his story. He said I'm the first person he ever said it to because he didn't think anybody would believe him. But the thing about it is, I'm just making the point, is what you just said, is that it's going on. It's real. The transhumanism is real.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm, absolutely. Go ahead. It's mind control. That's what it is. But it's about basically creating false scenarios around a person to create delusions. And eventually, what they're trying to do is interconnect the target to such a level that they'll be constantly having hallucinations 24 hours a day. And they'll also be inducted with synthetic telepathy feedback programs to a point where they won't be able to think for themselves because they'll be overlaid with a narrative. And the artificial intelligence wants to take over the brainwave activity. The whole idea behind that is the artificial intelligence wants to speak and think for you and animate you.
Right.
And if you don't comply with the program, you will be taken out. You will be remotely assassinated from. That's what their game board is. But you have to fight.
Yeah, if they can take over the neural network,
absolutely,
then they can control the entire human, even if they can't control your soul. And that's why you have to call in the divine. This
Correct.
stuff is, you can't fight this as a human. It's too
You can't
huge.
play on their field. You can't play on their field. You have to go to the multi-layers. You have to go to source. Absolutely. No, I agree. And that's one of the reasons
there's no way I could have survived. There's no way I could have survived what I went through if I hadn't called down God's assistance in everything that I did. And I think that some of us had to go through this to prove to the rest of the world that you can survive it.
Oh, absolutely.
That you can overcome it, that you can defeat it, that you can dismantle it, and that you can leave the matrix. And, look at what they're doing with the phones and the Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. They're laying down those false matrices, aren't they?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer we can overcome the misuse of technology because I love technology. I love it. I'm a real nerd when it comes to science and technology and physics and beyond physics. But what they're doing is a warfare program. It's bottom line. It's used for mind control warfare, weaponization of the body, weaponization of the mind. But they can't weaponize your spirit or your soul. And what you touched on earlier, that we're little pieces of light from source. It's true. We're what I consider to be co-creators of source. So we do have that divinity. We just need to call on it and connect in. And that's why, like I said, that's why you're here tonight, because that's what you're doing. You're radiating that energy. And people need to understand this. And they'll never understand it unless they get hit with a program or something. Seriously, if their life is groovy, they're really not going to miss the idea. But once they get hit with something, they're going to realize that, man, what do I do to reset this? Because it is a big deal.
You have to increase your light. That's what you do. And when I say that, I'm not talking from a new age standpoint. I'm not a new ager. We're talking about divine law. The energy of the universe is made up of pure love and light energy. That's what it is. The speed of light. Einstein talked about that. We're not just talking about some wispy idea or anything. This is real, hardcore physics. You have to increase the divine light within you, and you do that with meditation. You do that with physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional purification. When you increase your divine light to a certain point, they can't overlay matrices on you anymore. It breaks apart their structure. And that's how I was able to do it. Mm-hmm. I just kept being more and more and more light filled and more healing and more attunement to a higher level of vibration, mm-hmm. to the point where my vibration was stronger than their vibration. Mm-hmm. And anybody can do that. It's not just me, but I stand as an example to that. And you have to do it. You can't let yourself get sucked into these seductive, tempting scenarios. Mm-hmm. Like this whole, what's the thing they put over the virtual reality games over your eyeballs and everything, mm-hmm. and video games and just more. I live here in Silicon Valley, and that the stuff they have available to you is mind-boggling here. Mm-hmm. You get too involved in all that stuff, you're not even a human anymore.
Yeah, that's the idea. They want to be the transhumanists. They love it. They love merging with machines. I mean, I guess for them, maybe some of these people don't have a real spirit or a soul. Maybe they're just disembodied entities to begin with. So to them, that's a big deal when they get. But with somebody who's advanced in consciousness gets pulled into a program like that, like me, for example, without any arrogance, I say this. You can decode it and you can say, wait a minute, this is like, I know what it's like to be in bliss and source and ascended in consciousness. And this thing is about control. And it's an overlay. And it really, in my opinion, is not going to keep you immortal in any form of dimensional space. It's an entrapment program, if you ask me.
Yeah, they think that they're going to, that's what it's all about, the transhumanism. They think they can save their brain and their consciousness and put it in a robot so they can go on forever. I mean, how egotistical is that?
I'm telling you, they're going to piss the robot off. Maybe the robot doesn't want their brain. But it's true. But go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know if you saw the movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp.
Yeah. Well, I heard about it and I didn't see it because it touches home with me because of the technology I was interfaced with. But yeah, I get it.
I was horrified, and I love Johnny Depp, but I was like, oh my God, this is transhumanism to the max. It was so horrible and so scary, that he doesn't have a body anymore, and he's married to this poor woman, and he speaks to her from the wall. He comes out of the painting on the wall in a 3D fashion, and his face appears, and he talks to her. It was scary, Yeah. And I thought, who would want to be married to a picture on the wall? He was trying to have a relationship with her from the wall. And
right, electronic ghost comes to mind. That's the bottom line. They're creating ghosts. They're synthetic ghosts. That's all they are. It's an after image. It's just a little template, and it's not effective. You can't capture consciousness. You just can't. I think they'll try, but they're not going to make it. The soul can't be trapped. You know what that reminds me of? I always compare it to that Indiana Jones movie where they have the whole, what was it, the Ark of the Covenant, where it's in the box in the warehouse, and it just disintegrates when they start to mark it and put a file on it. It's one of these things where you're so divine, regardless of what you believe in, you don't get to be trapped like that. It just you keep ascending. The energy keeps mutating and phasing, in my opinion. So,
well, you know what? This is the last of the dark era. Once this planet awakens, it's not returning back to the dark. And those of you who have arrived on the planet at this time have arrived to participate in the most grandest show on Earth, is the awakening of Earth into its higher self. Earth is like a little child that's becoming an adult, and we're finally going to open and awaken to our highest possible divine incarnation of this planet. And so if you're here, you chose to come here for that. So don't get trapped into these false scenarios. You just stay focused on your divine mission, whatever that is. And I'm not judging anybody. I mean, we all get confused while we're here. It's so easy to get confused. But having been through this massive awakening, I mean, oh my God, frankly, it was a gift, Solaris, because it was so severe that if I didn't grab a hold of something, I was going to be dead by the time I was 20, I mean, right. I really, really had to grab onto my spirituality. And fortunately, I mean, you know my story, I was attuned to Reiki very early. And Mrs. Takata, Hawayo Takata, the Grandmaster of Reiki, was my mother's teacher and friend. And she stayed in our house every year for more than 10 years. And I started getting Reiki treatments and attunements from her when I was 9 years old.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's what really undid the false matrix for me. My sister grew up in the same house as I did, and she didn't survive because she never received any healing or Reiki or anything. She was older. She got married and left. And I, in the meantime, was undergoing a spiritual journey, a series of initiations, and being launched onto my spiritual awakening by my first two teachers, which were my mother, Eu-lalia is her name, by the way, Eu-lalia, and then Mrs. Takata. Those two women, divine mothers, launched me on my path of spiritual awakening and snatched me out of the hands of the dark ones by giving me their light and giving me that initiation into healing. And because of that, I carried it all the way to the point of where I liberated my energy completely from the dark ones. And that's what I offer all of you, is that I can liberate your energy with Reiki. I can do it. And you won't have to live through 40 years of hell or whatever,
Right. And how can people reach you? What's the best way to do that if they wanted a session with you or they want to connect with you?
Well, if you want to connect with me online, my Skype address is teri.apodaca, and that's spelled TERI.APODACA. You can connect with me on Facebook at Salini Teri Apodaca, or you can go to my website, www.emergingfromthematrix.com, and my email is emergingfromthematrix@gmail.com. And I'm happy to do a Skype session with you. I'm happy to do in person. If you're in the California, in the Bay Area, that's where I am right now. I teach Reiki, but I have to have a large enough class so that I make it worth my while to fly out there. And otherwise, I'm going to continue doing satsang with Salini because, I got to deliver this energy while it's coming through me. I'm going to deliver it as much as possible.
Well, that's great.
People.
I love that. I encourage everybody to tune in with that too. And that way they can get a feel for the energy that, and what you do, because that's a nice introduction to you. Yes,
It
me.
was fun, wasn't it?
It was great. Yeah, it's really nice. Nice group of people. Yeah, it was really nice. And most people probably feel like they don't need a healing. And it's more than that. It's more about a tune-up, if you ask me. I mean, almost like a spiritual tune-up. People don't realize they're out of balance until they start getting work done, and then all of a sudden they start feeling the shift in energy.
Right, right. Well, tomorrow night I'm going to do, we're going to have a special guest. We're going to have a meditation. I'm going to do a little talk, not too long of a talk. And then I'm going to have a psychic on. And this psychic happens to be my daughter, who is an amazing psychic and medium. And
Nice.
she can read the Akashic records. So she'll be on tomorrow night for a little while, and then we'll do some more healings. So if anybody's interested, join us at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time and on Facebook Live at Salini Teri Apodaca. Are you there, Solaris? Can you hear me? So we went into blank space again. So I don't know if the audience can hear me, but I can't hear Solaris. Are you there? Okay, well, I'll just keep talking. What we're doing is that we're liberating shadow energy and bringing love back to it. And you do that by bringing down the divine love from the universe. I do that with Reiki. I do that from my heart. I know how to do it, and I know how to unleash it in people. I know how to activate it in people.
Mm-hmm.
Are you there?
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I am, but I kept
Okay.
losing the signal. It keeps going haywire. It's really strange. So my Skype's acting a little funky tonight, guys. So if I go in and out, you're still running, Salini, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I just kept talking.
Yeah, no, I think we're fine, and we still record from what I understand, so we should be okay. But yeah, it's going in and out a little bit. Not sure why. We don't have a storm coming in. I think there was some kind of solar activity, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh,
yeah,
man.
that could be possible. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, yeah, I encourage everybody to definitely connect in with you because I think they'd be very, very happy to do so. There's no doubt. And of course, public speaking. Now you do your own thing. Are you going to be speaking publicly any place in California that we need to know about?
I think I don't have anything to report at the moment, but I'm receiving my messages from within, and what I'm hearing from Spirit is that I'm to get out there and speak wherever possible. And so that's why I decided it was time to I was going to do the satsang some time ago, but I was moving through so much transformation of my own, and I was traveling and moving that it was difficult to do. But from now on, I'm going to do them, and also do them live in locations, maybe somewhere out in public. And I'm just going to try to be out there so that people can see me, whether or not I'm getting paid or not. What's really important to me is that I deliver the message and I deliver the energy, and that I connect to people's hearts and get them on the road to healing and on the road to awakening to realize that they're divine. So if I do have some more dates or anything, I'll let you know for future shows.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to see that. No doubt. And of course, if people want to donate to you or do something wonderful for you, they can do that through your website probably, right?
You could do that through the website, I guess. If you felt like donating to me, I'd be super grateful. Because I like so many of us healers, we don't get paid much, and we're displaced. A lot of times we live with other people because it's very difficult in California here to have a place on your own. The apartments are up to $4,000 a month here in California.
Jeez, so that's outrageous.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And at the moment, I'm just being graciously hosted by someone. And anything that anybody feels like doing, that's up to you. You could do that.
Right. Now, I encourage people to do that if they have extra funds or whatever. I think that it's time to kind of do that insofar as supporting those who are out there doing the work and, assisting in the process of what we're trying to do here, which is really about reawakening everybody. And I say reawakening because they were awake at one point in the continuum. I'm not sure what lifetime it was, but I can't imagine everybody being slept for multiple lifetimes. They must be in there somewhere, right?
Yes, indeed. This was, at some point, the consciousness fell. And we don't really know exactly what happened. There's all kinds of theories, and every religion has their own theory. But I think there was some kind of war in the heavens, and groups of beings that fell into dark consciousness. have, taken over this space. So we've arrived here to reclaim it. We're reclaiming it for the light. And we're not going to leave until it's completely reclaimed. That's our mission. That's our job. And we're going to do it. It's going to happen.
Right. Well, I think just step by step, if you can help somebody with trauma recovery and help them heal from anything they've been through, I think that's a big deal.
Every little particle of little fragment of shadow soul or broken soul fragment reclaimed for the light is a victory for this planet, and heals the overall fabric of life.
Yeah, it gives more clarity too to the person, which also heals the fabric to some degree, because the distortion is what's really taking people down. It's the distortion of what people think is real and what's not, or what truth is and what's not truth. The discernment level is out. It's just out off the charts right now, where people just
it's really amazing, isn't it? It?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, sometimes I look at the world like it's one big circus going in and out, but little pockets of sanity and light everywhere. There's no doubt about that one.
Yeah, well, the fall was really harsh, and in the Bible, they call it the Garden of Eden, but I think that's sort of a metaphor for all the times when this was a perfect space, and that this was divine space without nobody was killing each other or anything,
Exactly.
And we want to return to that consciousness.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to have our break, everybody. You're listening to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host, Solaris Blue Ribbon. My lovely guest tonight is Salini Teri Apodaca. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.